How's it going, everyone? My name is an actual log, or you can call me Log. I'm coming at you today with an Elestrals deck list today. So, we have the upcoming Sunstrike format. So today, I want to talk about one of my favorite Elestrals in this game, Antitan. And with this deck, I want to cover a new deck that I think is going to be performing really well in the upcoming Sunstrike meta, and that is Lunar Aggro Antitan, the anti-meta threat of this upcoming format. And of course, there's different reasons to that, but today I'm be covering the deck and covering some matchups we might end up running into. So starting off with the list, we have 3 Arbud, 1 Aardvarm, and 1 Antitan. This is very standard to any Antitan list. You might see a world where you're playing 2, but for this list, we're only sticking with 1 Varum, so it is 3 Arbud, 1 Aardvarm, and 1 Antitan. This is your standard Antitan combo package. On top of that, we are running the 3 Cyan Nectar Champion of Dionysus. This card was very great coming out of the livestream format, which we're just about to end on. And this card continues to look to be pretty good in this upcoming Sunstrike format, being able to search out your PTAs, also enabling us to get us Artemis Arrow to end up special casting the champion Specteris champion of Artemis in this case. And this creates pretty much the Antitan combo as people are coming to know it as this day, and that's simply just cast Arbud, search out champion Specteris. Specteris can be special casted from hand if you have at least 1 suppressed card on the field. This is a 2-card combo combined with Artemis, Poison Tipped Arrow, Artemis's Arrow, which allows you to suppress an Elestral on the field. So because of this, you can search Arbud, Artemis Arrow, an opponent, special cast that champion Specteris, that would search up Arbud, and then use Arbud's effect to disenchant from the champion Specteris to ascend into Aardvarm. Aardvarm allows you to search for a bug so you can find the other champion Specteris in deck, special cast that, and then Aardvarm allows you to target and destroy a bug Elestral, so you can target destroy your Champ Specteris or target destroy a bug that's on your opponent's field, which that's going to be very important in this upcoming format. I'll get to that more later. And of course, because that, we'll get into Antitan. Our big, beefy Anteater. Simple 11-8 stats. You can discard a bug from your hand in order to destroy a card on the field. If this effect is activated up to 2 times in 1 turn, you can do it twice a turn. And if you have a bug on the field, Antitan is unaffected by Elestrals effects. This is pretty good, actually, in some cases. One of the big threats coming up is Fire in this current format, and Kinleo is pretty good at popping Antitan, so being able to have a bug on the field, you might be able to avoid that unfortunate scenario. But that's our standard Antitan package. The 3 Ardbud, 1 Aardvarm, 1 Antitan, 3 Cyan Nectar, and 2 Champion Specteris. Pretty standard. So now we're going to move on more towards the Lunar package. We have great, amazing Lunar cards coming out in Sunstrike that we're going to be showcasing. That's going to be showcased in this deck. The first one, of course, is Hypnosum Champion of Artemis. There's been quite a discussion about this card, and it's really powerful. We're playing 3 in the deck. Champion Hypnosum, when it receives a Lunar, so on cast, or if you just re-enchant it, you get to search your deck for a Hypnosum or Ectoplasm and add it to hand. It's very important because you can grab another Hypnosum if you don't think this Hypnosum is going to survive, or it got like PTA'd of some sorts, and then you're not able to actually attack with it. In some scenarios, but if you think this Hypnosum is just not going to go through, feel free to get another Hypnosum just to play on the safe side, or you can grab your Ectoplasm, which we'll talk about in a second. When this Hypnosum is destroyed, this is destroyed of any sorts, you can target an opponent's Elestral, daze and suppress it until their next turn. So, this is pretty much just, if it's on your turn, it's just till the end, pretty much after the end phase, or if this is during your opponent's turn, they have to wait a turn after. The important part is moving on to Ectoplasm, Champion of Artemis. When your Hypnosm is destroyed in battle, which that is the important part, when it is destroyed in battle, you can special cast this Ectoplasm from your hand using 2 Lunars from the Underworld. That is very huge that you're allowed to just use Underworld Spirits to just get it onto the field. When you cast this Ectoplasm, you can expend 2 Lunar in order to target a suppressed card and return it to hand. So, this card is essentially a new form of removal. Of course, you need to have a Hypnosm die in order for this to happen. But yeah, it's a new form of removal, a way to bounce cards back to hand. This is pretty good, like going against a lot of 3-drops. Just a way to just remove it off the field. Very good card. This card has been amazing in testing, and it feels very strong going into next format, and applies so much pressure as well. Also, a fun fact about this is also a Rhinosect scenario, that if you have both Ectoplasms in hand and a Hypnosm is destroyed in battle, you get to special cast them both out into the field using Lunars from the Underworld. So you could just swarm the field with Ectoplasm. With that being said, we're only playing 2 in this deck because we have a lot of big Ascensions in this deck already that it's going to be hard to fit in a 3rd Ectoplasm, and it might end up bricking your hand, which is a little bit of a risk. Next, we're going to move on to another new card, which is Vermalord. Vermalord is a pretty strong Elestral. It is a 1/4. This Vermalord gets +1 attack for each Lunar enchanting it. When this Vermalord is in attack position and destroyed in battle, you can enchant up to 3 Lunars from the Underworld to your field. This is a great way to just apply a lot of pressure on your opponent, especially with another card in this deck, which is the Lycovoid. Also Hypnosm as well. Hypnosm can just do big damage, but especially with Lycovoid, who is able to do piercing damage if you played a full moon during that turn. But Vermalord, great card. It automatically becomes a 5, which is great. Very similar to Spectaris, which we'll get to in a bit, and why I chose Vermalord in this deck over Spectaris. But Vermalord, really great card, really cool to see coming out of this set. And lastly, out of our Elestrals, we have 2 Werepup, 1 Lycovoid. This is very simple. Werepup searches for one of your lunar phases, which you can find either lunar eclipse or full moon, and then when you cast a full moon, you can ascend into Lycovoid. Okay, so moving on to the runes. We have 1 Earthquake. Very standard card. We're playing an Earth deck. We have Earths in our Spirit deck, so we might as well be playing Earthquake. It's a great removal card, very strong in this format. Next is Resting on Your Laurels. Also a very strong removal card. You have the space for it, feel free to fit it in. If not, then feel free to switch it out to max out one of the many runes in this deck. Next is 2 Artemis Arrows. I discussed this card earlier. I think it's very safe to go 2 here, especially that this card can also be used for combat. Just you're able to just give -2 attack, -2 defense to one of your opponent's Elestrals. That's a great way to start playing aggro and swinging over. Next, we have the Lunar Phase Lunar Eclipse. Target and destroy face-down runes up to the number of Lunar Elestrals on your field. And this also counts as a full moon. This triggers like a Werepup's Ascension to Lycovoid. Also can make Lycovoid be unaffected by counter runes. And have piercing damage, which is also great. And it's also an invoke. You can play this on the turn you play Werepup to just do a turn 1 Ascension, which is great. Also, we have 1 Full Moon in this deck as well. Full Moon's still a pretty strong card and a great way to get spirits on the field to just swing aggro for damage. And then moving on to our counter runes, we have the Full Moon. We have 2 Tsunami. Tsunami, very, very good counter runes, looking pretty strong in this upcoming format, especially with decks that just like to swarm the field. So Tsunami helps with that. Next, we have 2 Rise from the Shadows. This card is really strong, especially in a Lunar deck. Allows your Elestrals to just survive. And there's a lot of use cases for this card as well. If you're like, let's say you have a Hypnosum and Hypnosum gets removed from the field, not by a battle, you can, of course, cause its Daze effect, Daze and Suppress effect, but also you can rise it back, and because it received, you can find another Hypnosum or Ectoplasm, which can be really good at searching out combos. It might not be the best idea to rise a Hypnosum, maybe in some use cases, but it does have a use case. There's also other scenarios, like let's say your Antitan is dying, you get to rise it. Sure, you don't have, you know, Antitan effect on board, but you have a 3 body that refuse to be removed, which is honestly really strong. We've seen it a lot. We actually saw it in past Premier events on stream, so it's really cool to see. Also, you can have different use cases using Vermalord. Vermalord gets those spirits on field to another Elestral, and also Vermalord gets to come back, which is cool. You can use it on Lycovoid to keep him alive. You can use it on Ectoplasm to keep him alive. There's a ton of use cases. There's a lot of ways. Rise from the Shadows is a very good card, and one of my favorite cards in this entire game. Next, we got 2 Poison Tipped Arrows, very standard, especially if you're running Cyanectar. Great way of removal, and great way to out-tempo a couple of decks going to next format. We also have Pandora's Box in main. There's a lot of decks now that are just searching and turbo ascending, or special casting in any sorts. Pandora's Box really helps prevents the momentum of those decks, and it's really, really powerful to have it in the main deck. And lastly is 3 Gorgon's Gaze. One of the best cards. I don't need to explain why his card's in this deck. It is really strong. But yeah, this deck has a ton of combos. It's essentially just 3 different packages just all merged together. It also just gives you some versatility to your playstyle. Also gives different ways to go about different plans of action. It's really cool to see, and I think it's really powerful. So I want to talk about the side deck. Now, there's a lot of things you could do with the sideboard, and there's a lot of different ways to go about it. So I do want to go talk about it, see what we can do. First off, I want to talk about Spectaris. Now, there is use cases for both Spectaris and Vermalord in this deck, since both kind of have the same function of they're 5 attacker, and they get to the 5 attack in some certain way. With that being said, there's of course cases for each. I can see cases for Spectaris being in main. It can also trigger Antitan effect. More targets for Antitan effect, since pretty much in certain cases of turboing out, you're going to be getting rid of your Champ Spectarises and only left to your Champ Cyanectars. So it gives you a little more to do that, a little more leeway. But also in fact that if you're going against certain matchups where suppression is key, if you're versing a Earth deck who's playing out of Viscerus, Spectaris is going to do way more than Vermalord in those cases. If you're versing a Lunar matchup deck, like if they cast Vermalord, what are you going to do? Crash Vermalord with Vermalord? Then you both get the effect. If you use Spectaris, you get to go around Vermalord effect, which Vermalord, I feel is going to be pretty played in some Lunar decks in the upcoming format. There's just different use cases for each. Personally, I prefer Vermalord more in this deck, and in main deck at least, and the reason why is Moth. I've had games where there's a Vermalord and a Lycovoid on the field, and Vermalord goes in, crashes in, gets all these spirits on Like a Void, and Moth already being so low and just being so low on spirits throughout all the combos, Like a Void can just deal insane amounts of burn damage that pretty much can kill Moth quickly. And I think with that case, I do really like Vermalord being in main as a reason for a Moth counter. But again, both have really, really close use cases and different strats and plans. So either way, you can either be playing 3 Vermalords in main or 3 Spectaruses. It is completely up to you guys how you want to do it. I just like Vermalord in main. Also, for the time being, if you don't have Vermalords, because they are a holo rare in Sunstrike, use Spectarus. Oh, the deck's not going to perform, is not going to be drastically different. It's still going to be powerful, but it's not going to be drastically different in any sort of way. Just certain game combo plans, pretty much. Next, we're going to move on to Ouroboros. This card is very, very strong. I think it is a great sideboard option into certain matchups. When you cast as Ouroboros, you can target an opponent's face-up card. Return its enchanting spirits to the spirit deck and that card to the hand. When this Ouroboros is destroyed by an effect, you can put it on top of your deck. So you're able to recycle it if it is destroyed by effects. But also the fact that it can bounce 3-drops. It is a 1 cost that can bounce a 3-drop. Now, with the top two 3-drops we're really looking at this format, which are being Fossil Cell Ultracharged and Stratamoth, Ouroboros isn't going to do much against him. Moth actually can go back to hand because you could just play Bag of Winds to get back out on the field, and Fossil Cell can't be returned to hand. Unless you suppress the card, of course. But yeah. But it's overall pretty nice card to have into certain matchups. That's why it's not really in main. Another card that didn't really hit the main deck, but I feel like it's also pretty powerful into certain matchups, is the Nobby Doppelganger combo. Nobby's very simple. When it receives 1 or more Lunar, you can give each Elestral that is not Lunar or Solar Enchanted -2 until the end phase. When this Nobby is destroyed and destroys an Elestral in battle, you can special send it to Doppelganger. And Doppelganger is Elestrals that are not Lunar or Earth Enchanted, Lunar or Solar Enchanted. My apologies, guys. You get -1 for each Lunar enchanting this Doppelganger. That's also important to realize, as well, if you have Vermalord, this combos, you can give more minus attack to the field, which is very strong and very powerful. Of course, there's certain matchups. I think one of the most important matchups for Nobby is the Bears matchup, which Hestia Bears are making a comeback. The only issue is you got to work around the Rabbit. The new Ash Rabbit, which gives more attack to your fire Elestrals on the field. It might be defense as well. I didn't cannot confirm or deny. Let me know in chat. Let me know in the comments down below. But it can beef up. But because Nobby is able to give -2 to the field. So let's say you have a Majursa on the field with another bear. Nobby gets -2, dropping Majursa to 6 attack. Nobby swings over and then it sends a Doppelganger. Because Majursa already has that -2 attack, it will drop to 4, and Doppelganger is able to swing over it, which I think is really important into that matchup. But of course, there's some use cases, and there's also cases that Antitan might not be needed for matchups, and I think Bears is definitely a good case of that scenario. Because against Bears, you want to focus more on removing the big bears off the field. And I think Antitan is just it is a way of removal, but it's still a risk to get into that point that if an Arbud gets Gorgon's Gazed, you're going to be way behind, and Bears are just going to push the aggression more, and you're going to be further and further behind, that it might just be safe just to side out the Antitan package. Moving on, there is the Tox Eerie Night Venom. These all rely on the usage of Dense Fog. So If there's a Toxicity, it can search for a Dense Fog, add to hand, and Suppress Celestial gets -2/-2. This is a pretty good defender into certain matchups as well. Dense Fog, of course, you can search Dense Fog to suppress the field, and they'll all -2/-2 because of Toxicity. And then the Night Venom, you can discard a Dense Fog in order to destroy up to 2 cards. And if you have at least 2 Dense Fogs in the Underworld, Night Venom cannot be targeted by your opponent's Invoke runes, so it cannot be removed from the field from Resting or Earthquake, all that stuff. So the big thing is the Suppression Antitan list is very strong. And we've seen it get played quite often in livestream premieres. But my issue with it is it's hard to fit it into a Lunar Aggro style deck, since this is more of a defensive play. So Lunar Suppression Antitan, I would say it's its own separate build. And of course, you're going to be using the Ectopossums. And you're probably, I was talking with some casters before, you're probably playing 3/3 line of Hypnosum and Ectopossum for that deck. But this is just the Lunar Aggro deck, so it's not really needed, but there could be use cases. And then other cards I was looking at, of course, is Temple of the Moon. Really helps combo off of Vermalord as well. Vermalord giving more Lunars to the field. Also, Full Moon giving more Lunars to the field, making your guys have higher attack stats, which can really help out in certain scenarios. Other cards as well is Shield of Achilles and Dice. Shield of Achilles, unfortunately, is not a main deck card right now. You should not be main decking Shield, especially into Moth and Fossil Cell matchups. That card remains pretty useless. Moth likes to play P-Gust, so Shield, as the age-old saying, Shield never resolves. And of course, you're going to combo that with Patroclus's Dice, which is a brand new card coming to Sunstrike. It is a 2-cost Lunar Omni Rune. Target Elestral will give it +2 attack, +2 defense until the next turn. When this card is sent to the Underworld, you can target another counter rune in that Underworld and shuffle it to your deck. If you do, return this card to hand. So, and if that shuffle card is Shield of Achilles, draw a card. Having these two in the same deck, you can, of course, get that niche scenario of drawing a card, which is pretty cool. But also the fact that this card is just constant recursion. If you get to the Underworld and you're just going to shuffle back Omni counter runes, Dice just goes back to hand. You just constantly use it. This card is really good. I like it a lot. But I don't see it as a main deck card, at least for now, going into Fossil Cell Moth format. But maybe in a post-Turbo Ascension bug world, we could be seeing this in main deck. But yeah, I do want to talk about also Classics Cryo Blast and Spoiled Fruit. These are also pretty standard, pretty powerful cards. Now, I do want to talk about certain matchups as well. And this being the anti-meta deck. The two decks that everyone's really looking at right now. Well, one deck everyone's really looking at right now is Shadowmoth, Champion of Aeolus. This deck just allows to swarm the field really quick. It's heavy, expensive combos. But it allows for such aggression that it will be gatekeeping some decks. And it would be very hard to play against at certain times. So of course there's counters to this in this deck. Because it's doing a lot of searching, we have Pandora's Box. Because it's the, Stratomoth being a bug, you can trigger Aardvarm Ascension to destroy Stratomoth and ascend it to Antitan. Very powerful. And also another deck to look at, of course, is Fossil Cell as well. Who is a Turbo Ascending deck, and you have Pandora's Box to help deal with the Turbo Ascension, but also is a bug as well. Varum is allowed to destroy this bug and ascend. So, pretty much, this card's very strong. These two decks, Fossil Cell I haven't seen a lot of discussion about, but I know a lot of casters are really worried because it is going to do a number on this format. Another deck that this might struggle against is Fire. Fire's looking pretty strong. Fire artifacts in particular. Getting Tongues of Hephaestus, which just allows for powerful fire artifact plays. So fire might be a troubling matchup for this deck. Just to be on the lookout for that. But because we also know fire is also, it's got its head out. It's got a bounty out right now on the Moth. Fire is really looking to do a number on the Moth right now. So is a lot of other decks coming out to this format. So in conclusion, guys, I think Lunar Aggro Antitan is very powerful, and for the start of the format, it's going to do great. I think this deck is very powerful, and it's also very fun. I've been testing it a lot. I've been testing it on my streams. I've been testing it at locals against local players. It is fun. It is aggressive. It gets the job done. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Hit the bell. I'm going to be posting shorts here, hopefully daily. So you want to be checking out my streams out as well. Make sure to go check out twitch.tv/unactuallog. Also, if you want to pre-order Sunstrike, at this time, Sunstrike pre-orders are up. So feel free to use my shop link down below as well. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching today. And hey, I hope you guys are looking forward to Sunstrike just like I am.